them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, instead of trying to be something y'all ain't. Ain't bang them books, ain't bang them trying to be something y'all ain't.
Peace. Peace. How's everybody doing? This is your brother and friend, Yeshiah Yisrael. Welcome to Danite Publications. We are on the platform More Yeshiah Torah, your More Yeshiah History Lessons and More Yeshiah History Lessons 2. So whether you're listening to it live now or later on, we ask you to sit there and subscribe to the platform in which you are listening to this presentation. We want to, brothers and sisters, get into this particular matter and into, brothers and sisters, this kind of discussion. We're going to do a probe, if we will, into the Forest Gump matter. All right? Thank you for the time. Hopefully everybody is well and will be better. I want to put the actual title on there. All right. Looking at it like that, in that particular case. Thank you for that. Now, to the people who have subscribed to the channel within the past 30 days, I see the analytics and so forth. I appreciate asking you to share the videos. I am open to constructive criticism. My number is, as you see, 908-587-4841. That is, again, 908-587-4841. Now, brothers and sisters, when we discuss history, there's going to be good parts to it, sad parts to it, bad parts to it, and uplifting parts to it. Sometimes it could be a mixture of two. For instance, one of the things that motivated me to write a book was the movie Glory that had Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington in it. When I saw that, it motivated me to write a history book, which is now published for those who are interested. So, brothers and sisters, we never know what kind of understanding or energy or influence something may have. So in light of that too, I want to say these presentations that are done are not based upon quote unquote matters of racism, but matters of truth and bringing it out to the people for edification purposes. All right. Let us, if we will, brothers and sisters, pull up, do the share screen, if we will, right? And let us, brothers and sisters, pull up the matter of the PowerPoint in this particular case. All right. I do not claim to know everything, and I am open to constructive criticism. So that is the website, danitepublications.com. On it, in the drop bar, you will see the books that a brother has written. For those who are interested, you can get it through that. Subscribe to the channel. That is a request. All right. So let us get into this. Forrest Gump. Now, a magical film starring Tom Hanks. As you see one sitting on a bench. All right, let's look. This is part of the beginning of the movie in which he takes the opportunity to sit there and say and talk to somebody that happens to be sitting there about shoes and where one can go and what you can tell by looking at one's shoes. What impression that made to me is that people, no offense intended, at times likes to stare at people and analyze people and try to think things that may be true or may not be true. But it's up to that individual person who's doing such if he or she has enough time on their hands for such. Is it a wise or a beneficial idea to even do such? Is another question, if we will. Maybe some people have time on their hands for that. I've come to learn, no disrespect intended, that some people have too much time on their hands. Let's continue, family. And here we see not his shoes, but we see Forrest running away from people that was inside of a truck, if you will. All right. When watching this carefully, this is based in state of Alabama, you would sit there and see, brothers and sisters, that the Confederate flag is on that truck in the front of it, if you were to watch the movie very carefully. I remember being, no offense intended to the South, and I remember being in the South, and they still have, after the year 2000, Confederate flags in front of their house. That is something that in certain cases in the South is still upheld. The Confederate flag, brothers and sisters, was used by the people who referred to themselves as the Confederacy of the United States in the decade between the 1860 until, you may say, the end of the Civil War. And as you can see, still to this day, the spirit of the Confederacy in certain cases in the southern states still exists. What, brothers and sisters, was the mind of the Confederacy in the 19th century? They call it now preserving states' rights. But as we pointed out some years ago on the presentation, Texas and Mississippi definitely let it be known what those states' rights were: slavery. Which brings us to an interesting point, which some people intend to say, well, there may have been only 1% of people in the South that were slaveholders. Some people say only 5% of the people in the South were slaveholders. But here is a question to ask. If there had to have been made in the 1820s a compromise, the Missouri Compromise, when Missouri entered the United States as a slave state, and Maine entered the United States as a free state, it is quite hard to believe that less than 10% of the people in the slaveholding states had slaves. For it to have to go to a point whether they wanted to discuss whether it should expand west or stay where it was. If something is less than 10% of an economy, of a society, why will it be so important to have to make compromises on something that's less than 10%? We're not talking 10% of a population of people within a whole mass of land as in the United States, but rather 10%. While in the slave states themselves, it was said by some less than 10%, the whole story essentially of saying that it was anywhere between 1 and 5% of the people in the slave states having slaves is a myth. All right. So that is something we care and want to bring out for reference purposes, if we will. All right. Now, the movie Forrest Gump does not touch on heavily the matter of the Civil War, but let's see what it does talk about. Here we see Forrest and Jenny standing next to each other, and he had liked her since they were children. And one of the sickest and saddest scenes in this is that it hints on the matter of Jenny being SA'd by her father inside the movie itself, which is quite sick, brothers and sisters. According to the movie, Forrest Gump was named after Nathan Bedford Forrest. Nathan Bedford Forrest was part of the Confederate Army. When the South lost the Civil War, some former soldiers of the Confederate Army decided in Tennessee to form the KKK, this being in the year 1866. When, brothers and sisters, on Jerry Springer, they had what they called black supremacists versus white supremacists. And they had posted up there or on there Israelite brothers that come from the Israelite school from 1 West 125th Street, the Israeli ISUPK at that time in the 1990s, which for those who do know, prior to that was called the Tanakh School back in the 1970s or so. But brothers and sisters, looking say at this right here in that Jerry Springer episode, they also had members, 2 females and 2 males of the KKK. You understand? And the audience was taking sides, if you will, on who they felt or who they agreed with more. And this is now the year 2026. I remember that being 30 years ago on the Jerry Springer episode. And brothers and sisters, one of the guys on stage, the side of the Israelites, was saying that Israelites don't have a history of lynching white people. Israelites don't have a history of going around and antagonizing white people. Israelites did not have a history of trying to get into government and portray an image that's not in their heart, if you will. Israelites did not take off their turbans and put on different kind of clothes and then try to run for the presidency like David Duke, who was part of the KKK, if you understand back what happened in the election of 1991, 1992. So brothers and sisters, when we get into that kind of matter, black men saying and proclaiming we are the house of Israel is equivalent to some people what lynching, castrating, assassinating, murdering black people are to black people. When we read about smiting one with the breath of your mouth, to some is equivalent to the actual slaying that has been done to black people, if we will, brothers and sisters. But when black lives don't matter, people may not understand that kind of concept and have that kind of understanding. They were noted, as in the KKK, second paragraph of this in the bullet points there, they were noted to have been restarted in 1915 in Georgia by William Simmons in the movie Rosewood, based on what happened in Florida in 1922. Members of the KKK were shown. In the movie Malcolm X, members of the KKK were shown. So in the 1920s, be it in Omaha, Nebraska, or be it, brothers and sisters, in Rosewood, Florida, there are movies to this day that show the presence of the KKK. In 1999, the KKK had a march in New York City. Now, when you research the matter of what happened in New York City, in like Manhattan, when the KKK had a march, it was less, they said, than 100 people. And one of the members of the KKK said that there would have been more if they were allowed to wear masks. Because New York City, New York State, you understand, has a law where you can't just parade around as a group with a mask on. But yet, no disrespect intended, maybe they changed the law or the law is amended, because you have ICE agents that was also just last year in 2025 in the area of Canal Street, which is in downtown Manhattan. You understand? So we have to begin to know and understand that one of the reasons why, quote, the KKK was created was, in their mind, slavery ending in 1865 legally. They felt that Black people would want to attack, retaliate, get back at the former slave masters, if you will, but was surprised to come to find out that in many cases, Black people just wanted to be free and work and get paid for working. You understand? Having worked and not being paid for it, they wanted to be able to work and get paid for such. That was some of the things that was surprising in that particular case. So, in the state of Tennessee, I forgot what city, pardon me, in 1866, they spoke upon that matter in that Jerry Springer episode in 1996, saying that they have been around for 130 years. So if you take 1996 and subtract 130 years, you get 1866. So from 1866 until 1996 is 130 years. So they keep their calendar and their dates and teach their children such. Who taught, as we asked before on the platform, Dylan Roof, who went into a Black organization of a church and assassinated, murdered 9 people? Who taught him to do that? Brothers and sisters, is a question that we may want to ask. If we have the heart to say that there are parents who are producing Black children that wind up not being good, can we also ask the people who are attacking Black people who happen to not be Black, who taught them to do that? And who taught Black people to not defend themselves? All of these questions can and should require an answer. You understand? See, you cannot get deep into American history without talking about slavery, without talking about the Civil War, without talking about the rise of the Klan, if we will. Some people may want to not get deep into it. Doesn't mean that they are brushing it aside, but you cannot, without embellishing a matter, get deep into the history and not talk about it. So what has happened in certain cases is a dismissal matter, a lack of accountability matter. Like we as Black people been asked, why won't you talk about such and such that happened in Africa? Because that's not what the subject matter is right now. Are any other people ever asked or coached or influenced on what they should or should not talk about outside of Black people? No offense, I'll wait. My number is across the screen for those who want it. 908-587-4841. Not to sound arrogant. Let me know if there's any other group of people outside of Black people who have been told, taught, and encouraged and influenced what to and what not to talk about, if we will. Let's continue, family. In the Forest Gump movie, Governor Wallace was mentioned. He was the governor of Alabama from 1963 to 1967, 1971 to 1979, 1983 to 1987. He was noted for racial statements. He was shot in 1972, and the gunman was released from prison in 2007. The shooter name was Arthur Bremer. The statement that says segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever was written by a KKK member named Asa Carter. Carter followers castrated a black man in an attack, for those who want to know. What was, pardon the terminology, the fascination of castrating a man after or before his death? What was the significance of such? Because castration is the dismemberment, the cutting off of one's private parts that is a male. What were you doing with that? What was the point in that? To symbolically in your mind saying this person will not produce any more of his own? Because when you go into the edited book by Ralph Ginsburg called 100 Years of Lynchings, some of them were done by the Klan members, KKK members. There are certain people that were charged for the same crimes that they said a black man has done. Not too long ago, within the past year, there was a man that was charged by a Caucasian lady saying that he had SA'd her, sexually ate her. But had it not been for the uses of cameras, he probably would have been incarcerated. So now we have a situation in 2025, 2026, where a man has been charged or was deemed to have been guilty of SA. Over 100 years after the situation with Rosewood, for those who saw the movie. Who takes accountability for the matters of Carolyn Bryant, who lied and said that a youth named Emmett Till disrespected and violated her? Her husband and another person put Emmett Till to death. And decades later, that happened in 1955. And decades later, Carolyn Bryant said she made it up. Was there any justice in that particular case? No, there was not. Who is the one, in no disrespect, pushing segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever? I remember when in 2008, 2009, when Obama came into office, something struck me with some of the coworkers that I was around. See, for those who do know the politics and the matter of business that happened, you had it to where the housing market during the time of Bush Jr. was not the best. And Obama, a Democrat, took on the problems that the previous president, Bush Jr., left and tried to do what he could to sit there and fix it. You understand? And I remember talking about that with some coworkers, and coworkers who, not to be racial, who were not black but white, who usually wanted to talk about Eric B. and Rakim, who wanted to sit there and talk, rappers, by the way, who wanted to sit there and talk about Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, rappers and producers of music, who wanted to talk about the wife of Jay-Z, Beyonce, and how pretty she was, did not care to talk about a black man in power who was not an entertainer on the stage. I learned something. I picked up on something. Everybody knew, not too long after that, was the situation with Bernie Madoff. With Bernie Madoff, and if I may, I'm going to show Bernie Madoff a little later on for a reason, right? And all the other people who, when the stock market was going not the best, in the later part of the first decade of the 2000s, 2008, 2009, I remember saying, not even using racial epithets such as black or white, I was saying, here, take care of a problem that's not even yours. I really it really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. So the very dark skinned, to my knowledge, Jay-Z and his quote beautiful black wife, Beyonce, and the beautiful rhymes that Rakim did along with Eric B, and the matter of Snoop Dogg dropping an album after he dominated the Chronic album with Dre, that's all you cared to talk about was Negroes and entertainment. Now, mind you, I've been an Eric B and Rakim fan for 40 years. No Tricks in 86. I remember when Rakim said that in 1986 when I was 6. I remember being by Nostrand Avenue in Brooklyn and seeing the big sign about the concert that was supposed to happen. Of course, I was too young to go. I remember trying to call myself doing the moonwalk with, may he rest in peace now, the black artist Michael Jackson. You couldn't tell me I wasn't doing it like him, or in my mind, even better than him. I remember Billie Jean, the song, before I even understood the content of what that song was about. I remember calling myself trying to dance to Want to Be Starting Something. I remember liking and understanding the theme of Michael Jackson's song called Beat It. It doesn't matter if you right or wrong, but for peace sake, let us all be calm. I got that even from that timing with the Thriller album that I remember hearing in 1986 when I was 6, 40 years ago. You didn't want to talk about a man in politics who inherited problems from a Republican president prior to him being in there. You didn't want to talk about he defeating John McCain, who was, if I'm not mistaken, I believe John McCain was part of the Senate at one point. No, the conversation, white coworker, that you wanted to stay on wasn't the things that the newspapers was talking about. It was what the Source magazine and what would have been Word Up magazine with Heavy D in the limo that Biggie would talk about with Salt and Pepper. I'm not knocking entertainers and singers, because like I said, I remember listening to Michael Jackson on Sunday and Eric B and Rakim on Monday, to give you an example when I was a child. But as far as a person going in and trying to fix the stock market who happened to be black, a person trying to go in and fix the healthcare system who happened to be black, a person going in and trying to sit there and fix the housing market who happened to be black. No, I really don't sit there and care to talk about that. I never told you, white coworker, that I didn't want to talk about the Beastie Boys, which I had no problem talking about. Had no problem if you wanted to talk about Vanilla Ice or Third Base or House of Pain, the white rap groups that existed in the 1990s. And with Third Base, they existed in the 1980s. Had no problem if you wanted to go there to talk about any entertainer while talking about music. But a politician, a leader, not person entertaining people that people use to get their mind off of drama going on. They may listen to music to calm their own spirit. Let's not talk about somebody who could fix something that can mean for all people, because that person happens to be a Negro. That gave me a wake-up call about how we as a people are viewed, to be quite candid on that. So I ask again, who taught Dylan Roof? I ask again, who taught Eminem that black girls just want your money in a song that he did? So when we sit there and we talk about these kind of matters and we talk about these kind of subjects, we may want to see why and can understand why reading was a crime in slavery for a reason. So let's continue and probe into this. Jimmy Hood and Vivian Malone, in 1963, the school was desegregated in Alabama. That is mentioned in the Forest Gump movie. Do you know that was not just something said, that actually happened? That was not just a clip in the movie? You mean you didn't want the people to be educated? Now, yes, there were black schools, but while you're talking about a matter of after the timing of Civil War, let's all get together and let's all sit there and participate and let's all sit there and come together. And no disrespect to Mr. Hood and no disrespect to Miss Malone. Martin Luther King eventually said, after heavily, no disrespect to him as a man, pushing integration, that he said that he fears he led his people to a burning house. Who were his people that he was talking about? And who were the people Martin Luther King was talking about in his last speech about the Levites, which belonged to the children of Israel in the promised land? What land is he talking about? Who were the Levite people that he was talking about in Memphis, Tennessee in April of 1968? If you heard his last speeches. So, brothers and sisters, as we sit there and we talk upon this kind of matter, what can we gather and ascertain in such? They did not want to go to school with you. As Joe Biden said, didn't want his children to sit with others. We're going to keep something clean, if you will. And still don't want their children with you, even as shown in that show, The Sopranos, depicting gangsters who are white guys, who mainly attack other white guys. Still don't want their daughter, who they call their meatball, unless I read wrong on the t-shirts, dealing with the Negro. They don't get along with their own people, but they know who they ultimately don't want to have mixtures with. So is that why in spirit you want to castrate somebody to alleviate the so-called drama that you're thinking about with integration matters, if you will? And I say this in no disrespect. The biggest pushes, believe it or not, of integration, as far as mating and siring and conceiving with people who are not their own people, are black people. White women who are into black men do not go on or offline and bash white men. You don't see them hugged up on a black man talking about now they found peace. Sisters, black women, if you will, that swirl are the ones who do that. Black men are the ones who go online and offline and said they now have found peace. And white females have spoken to that by even saying, you don't have to keep on telling me I'm white. I know that. But the reason why I say human to Caucasian females, whether you listen to this now or later, he's with you because he cannot stand Shaniqua. He cannot stand Tamika. He cannot stand Keisha and Ayana. It is not because he like you, Susan, as a person. It is not. It is because of whom he does not like. I am not a physician or a psychiatrist, but I find it very peculiar when a brother sees, and I've experienced this several times, when a brother sees a lady, namely a black lady, swirling, as they call it, with the Caucasian male. Why are you staring at me? We're in a public bus or checking into a hotel or at a movie or whatever. Why must you stare at the black man? Why is he staring at the black man? I'm not on no DL. I'm not bi-curious. Aren't you with your lady, your queen? So what are you looking at me? Not to sound hood or crass. What are you looking at? Gotta sit back and ask that. Is it because she could not get along with Tyrone, with Derek, with Dwayne, that she chose Billy. Is that truly love? Is that what it is? And like I spoke a little earlier regarding not being a psychiatrist or a physician to white females, the dude with you is because he can't get along with his own. Male to male, white guys, in many cases, black women with you because she could not find whom she wanted among her own. That's why ever so often you hear her talk about it. There are no good black men. There was a talk show that even had that kind of person on. And I don't understand what kind of man can be okay with his significant other always talking about another man unless you're the ultimate simp. Women don't even, black men and women who are with black men don't even want a man who she's with to talk about his black ex. We're starting here. This is our union. Why do you always have to talk about your ex? Sisters don't even want to hear about other sisters from their man. So how do you have it as a man always hearing from a woman about a man that she ain't even with? And you okay with that? Where they do that at? All right, let's continue. Now, regarding Forrest Gump, this is no disrespect. He did not know sex when you watch the movie. He did not know what a strip club was, which is actually pretty good because that means he was not exposed to lasciviousness, ridiculousness, if that's even a word. He did show his behind to the president's staff when they had the whatever kind of camera work done when he was speaking with President Johnson. He actually mooned them in today's terms and showed his behind in that particular matter. He did not realize that the people with the flashlights were thieves. When you go into the matter with them showing, if I'm standing to be corrected, the Watergate matter during the Nixon era. So certain things he knew and certain things in the movie he did not know. He did not ask what a N-word was. Let's show what we're talking about while we probe into this matter here, if we will. All right. Let's pull it up in this particular matter, family. Hoping and praying everybody is well. And let's see what we're talking about, family. Thank you.
All right. What's going on?
Coons are trying to get into school.
Coons? Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chasing them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggas. And they want to go to school with us.
With us? They do?
Shortly after Governor Wall.
All right. What's going on?
Coons are trying to get into school.
Coons? Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chasing them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggas. And they want to go to school with us.
With us? They do?
Shortly after Governor Wall.
All right. What's going on?
Coons are trying to get into school.
Coons? Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chasing them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggas. And they want to go to school with us.
With us? They do?
Shortly after Governor Wall.
All right. What's going on?
Coons are trying to get into school.
Coons? Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chasing them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggas. And they want to go to school with us.
With us? They do?
Shortly after Governor Wall.
If we notice carefully and knowing the movie, there are certain things like he asked, what is vacation? Huh? What is vacation where daddy went? Vacation is when you leave and you never come back. So certain things Forrest Gump in that movie did not know initially, but he did not ask in that what is the N word. Who taught Dylan Roof? Who taught? Because obviously Forrest Gump's father wasn't there. So who taught Forrest Gump what the N word was? For him to not have to ask what it was.